Get yourself ready, it's about to go down. We got a new thing coming, got a new sound drum and like.
What's up? What's up? This is your boy G Sharp. It's my dude Hucky, and this is the 7801. Once again, folks, we coming at you live, doing that thing, man. We trying to make people feel good because there's a lot of crazy going on right now. And if you catching this in real time, you already know what I'm talking about, especially here in Erotic City, because everything is nuts in here in Erotic City right now. They're burning up stuff and police and military, but it's calming down right now. Seems like everybody's getting on the right page right now, and we'll see what happens. You know, we don't know, the jury's still out, but we'll see what happens. But for the meantime, we about to get down. We about to talk to you guys who live here, who hang out here, who know what's happening around here about the 7801. And if you don't know what the 7801 is, again, Hucky, you tell them.
You better ask somebody
today, pal.
No.
Right? So check it out. We got Hucky here. And if you don't know Hucky, again, Hucky, I've known Hucky, man, how long, man? 30 years?
Man, early 80s, right? Wasn't it like around 1984?
Wow, yeah, because you were at the club the night that I met Brown. So yeah, that's a long time, man. And Hucky did security for Prince. He was Prince direct dude for a minute, and you know, and he has his own security company. That's why it's been kind of hard to get him in one spot, because you know he got security detail all over the world, around the clock, around the world. So Hucky, let's just jump into it, man, because I know everybody want to know, everybody want to hear these stories, man. And I'm glad that, first of all, I'm glad that I'm a part of it. And I'm glad that I can call you brother. We've been, man, dude, how far? 30, man. It's like most of my adult life I've known you, man. Most of my adult
it's been
life.
a long time, G, man. Like I said, I think about when we first met at that club in Memphis, and it's amazing that here we are all these years later. We still tight, right? And we doing stuff, man.
I'm telling you, man, tight. So and another interesting thing about it is neither one of us ever got to a place where we weren't tight with Prince. His whole life, you know what I mean? We went through our things with him. No, we went through our things, you know, but I mean, you know, but when it all came down, you know, he was always our boy, you know, and we looked out for him even when he wasn't looking out for us. Right.
That is true, but maybe in another episode we'll talk about
that's
Prince stories and
right. See, that's gonna be one of them shows that we're gonna do for the Patreon crowd, because you know we can't let everybody hear that. So anyway,
give me just a little bit of the sauce.
Yeah, right. So let's jump into it. First of all, how did you meet Prince, and how did you end up on his security detail? I mean, not like you were a roadie or something. I'm talking about the man standing next to the man. So how did you meet him, and then how did you end up on his security detail?
Well, most people know that my best friend is Brown Mark, and I used to hang out with Mark at rehearsals back in the early days. Prince had a warehouse before Paisley on Highway 7, and so I would go out to rehearsals and I watched the band. And at the time, Prince's bodyguard was Big Chick, you know, Charles Huntsberry. Right. And so me and him got to be really good friends. And, you know, he said, hey, have you ever thought about doing security? Now, at the time, I was in college playing football. And that was my goal. I wanted to be a pro football player. And so Chick shot me down, man. He said, man, you ain't going to play no pro football. I'm like, how do you know that? He said, you're too slow. I was like, how do you know I'm too slow? By just looking at me. He's like, I know. So he's like, hey, you know, you ever thought about doing security? And I had no idea about security and the formal term executive protection. I didn't know anything about it, man. And so really, Chick was the very beginning of me getting started in my security career. But even before I used to go out and hang out at rehearsals, G, we was at the house one day at Mama B's house. And Mark said, hey, man, we're going to go down to Lake Calhoun. Prince and Susan Muncie are going roller skating. Do you want to go? I was like, yeah, I want to go for sure. So, G,
now, hold on. Tell them who Susan is for those who don't know who Susan
Oh,
Moonsey is.
Susan Moonsey was in Vanity 6.
The little
So,
brown skinned sister with the long hair,
yep.
the teddy bear
So,
girl.
so there was
Yeah.
Vanity, then there was Brenda
Brenda.
Bennett,
Yeah.
Roy's wife, and then there was Susan
Right.
Moonsey. So, you know, man, anyway, Mark tells me about it, man. He's like, you want to go down to Calhoun? Now, Lake Calhoun's a local lake here in Minneapolis that in the summer times, it's like the place to be, or used to be the place to be back in the day.
Right.
So, gee, man, I go get this great big old Polaroid Instamatic camera, right? So I got the camera on my neck. I'm geeked. I'm ready to go down to Calhoun. And Mark looks at me and says, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean? What am I doing, man? I'm getting ready to go down there and take some pictures. He said, no, man, he don't like cameras. You can't take no pictures. Leave the camera here. And, you know, I would soon find out years later as I'm running his security detail that, yeah, cameras were a bad thing in his eyes. So that was really my first time that I met Prince. Nothing as cool as what your story was, but that was kind of my introduction. And, you know, after a while, I go out to rehearsal. And here's the thing about P, man. He didn't say nothing to me. Like, I was on payroll, man, for like, it seemed like months. And the dude would never say nothing to me. Right. And so finally, one day, Chick had to go somewhere. And I was in the rehearsal hall with him and the band. And then, gee, all of a sudden he says, Hucky Kent. I'm like, who? You talking to me? You talking to me? It was like out of the blue, man. And then, you know, after that, it was cool. He started talking to me a lot. I had an opportunity to do my first security detail with just me and him. We went out to Los Angeles. And I think this was like, I want to say right before the premiere of Purple Rain, so summer of '84. But me and him went out to LA, and that was my first time actually working with him one-on-one. Right. And the thing that's so funny, man, I had just fallen off the turnip truck, man. I was so green, G. You know, I didn't know what I was doing, man. I'm really surprised that, you know, I even had an opportunity to stay on because, like I said, I had no clue what I was doing. And I want to say this before I go any further, man. You know, the way that I got into this industry is certainly not the way to do it. You know, I highly recommend that anyone that's considering getting in the field of executive protection that you find a legitimate school and get you some training and get all the experience you can. Look, I was lucky. I was in the right place at the right time.
Right. However, let me say to the people who thinking of getting into security, don't go to any school. Don't go to just any school. Think about, okay, this is a pub, man. Give them the name of your school. Tell them what you do. Because having worked with Prince, there is no crazier security detail you can be on. If you're in the Prince entourage, man, you on some craziness 24/7.
Yeah. I got a story later on I'll share with you about the craziness. Yeah, my company is called Bodyguard Careers, and really I started in 2005 as an information resource center just to help people get in the industry. Because what was happening, G, at the time, right in your neck of the woods, there was this cat in Tennessee, man, he was frauding people. So he would look for veterans that had just come back from, at that time I think it was Desert Storm. It's one of those deals. And he was taking these vets' money that had been, over in Iraq, and they come back and they wanted to find something to do. And this guy was scamming people. And so I thought that was really messed up. I said, look, I want to put information out there to really help people get going in the industry the right way. And so that's how I started my business, and it's kind of morphed into not only being something that gives good information for people who want to get started in the industry, but we do consulting and we work with Fortune 500 individuals, and right now it's just been crazy. I mean, with all the stuff that's going on across the country, I mean, I'm turning down 15 to 20, phone calls a day because nobody has the resources to be able to fulfill a lot of these jobs. But that's how I got going, and that's how I started my business. But yeah, if you want to get going in the industry, hit me up at Bodyguard Careers. We'll point you in the right direction.
Right on, man, because that's real, folks. I mean, a lot of guys think that just because they're big and mean or something like that, that makes them a good bodyguard. Nah,
that's the biggest misconception out there.
I've seen Hucky handle some stuff, man, and people didn't even know it went down. Right. So, okay. So, all right. Now, tell me about and tell us about a super challenging time you had to deal with while you were protecting Prince. It can be funny, it can just be weird, whatever. Just tell us about one or two, however many you want to tell, particular times that you had to deal with protecting Prince.
Gee, there's a lot. One that really comes to my mind was the summer of '84. And '84 was such a big part of my life because it's when I first started with P. And we went to see the Jacksons in Dallas, Texas. I think they were on the Victory Tour at the time. And it seems to me like it was in July, so it was either after the premiere of Purple Rain or before it. And like I said, you guys, excuse me, don't hold me super tight on these dates. I'm an old man now, and my memory's kind of fuzzy, but I think it was like July of 1984, and the Jacksons were out on the Victory Tour. And P wanted to go see the show. So we put together a security team to take him down there. Now, man, at the time, it was in Texas Stadium, man. It was jam-packed. And so it was Chick, Gilbert, myself, and two other guys. I think it was a guy named Jim Dick, who played pro ball for the Vikings. And there's another guy named Eric Ongram, I think it was his name was. But anyway, we kind of prepped Prince. You know, we told him what to expect. And we said, this is what we're going to do. We want to be low-key. Okay, we want to be low key. Now, there's where the problem starts because you know that that's not something that can even be part of his vocabulary.
No idea.
So we walk him out, and we kept Chick in the back because at the time Chick was already super famous himself. And so he's like, man, you know, you can't walk him through. I'll walk him through, and Gilbert. And so we gave him a space, and he was low key. He was dressed down, which was something else that was pretty incredible. Because if you remember some of them outfits from the '80s, you know, you can't ever think of a time where Prince was dressed down. Like, but anyway, G, we got out to the soundboard, and I remember, G, maybe you can kind of give us some insight. It was one of them big old stacked towers. It was like almost 3 stories high with this soundboards, man. It was, I mean, it was amazing to me to see this setup, man. And so we got up there. Me and Gilbert got up there with P because Chick couldn't climb up it. I mean, you know, for anyone that doesn't know, Chick was a mammoth of a man. He was a monster. Yeah. You know, and so
I only met him once.
Yeah. Him to try to get up there, it would have been pretty challenging. So it was cool, man. He watched the show for a little bit, and you know, he said, you know, he gave us a nod, said he was ready to come back down. Now, I don't know if I said this, but there was one thing that we told him don't do no matter what. And it is don't run, stay calm. Okay? Don't run, stay calm. We got you. So anyway, G, man, we up there, and all of a sudden we hear, that's Prince. I was like, oh, here we go, man.
I start running.
So we got him down, and I'm like, don't run. We're just going to walk you out. And what does he do? He takes off, running. Man, right? Now, me and Gilbert play ball, man, so I can keep up with him, man. And then all of a sudden, everybody down there, man, it was like an ocean of people, the waves, and it was crazy. And so Chick's trying to keep up, right? Chick can't keep up. He's out of breath, man. And at this time, man, Chick's almost 50 years old, right? And something else happened. It used to happen to Chick all the time. It's a whole nother story. But as Chick's running, he splits his pants, right? And so a couple guys are behind him. They're falling out laughing, right, man? And we finally get Prince, you know, backstage, man, and we get him in the cars, and we get out. But Chick was furious. I mean, you could see his whole butt crack was exposed, man, because he had these tight polyester pants on. But, you know, it was funny,
Somebody told me a story about Chick pants busting. It happened more than once, didn't it?
Man, it used to, you know, and like I said, that's a whole nother story, man. Chick was the funniest dude in the world. But you know, after we you know, after that adrenaline went down a little bit, I was like, dang, because I mean, gee, man, it was thousands of people trying to get at him. And
at a Michael concert.
Yeah. I think him and Mike had some words after that. I don't think Mike appreciated that commotion, but
yeah, of course.
That might be another story, bro. Yes, sir.
Well, look, right now, we're gonna take. We got plenty more questions. We're gonna take just a minute, and we got a sponsor we need to drop in. So you guys just sit tight. We'll be right back. This is 7801 with Hucky Austin and G Sharp.
What's up?
This segment was brought to you in part by Send Out Cards. changing lives one card at a time. Go to agreetingcardjustforyou.com. Again, that's agreetingcardjustforyou.com. And now, back to the show. Yeah, this is 7801. We're interviewing each other right now. We're actually interviewing Hucky because last week Hucky wasn't able to be here, but this week he's here. He's got a big company. He's running some things. So we just got done with a few really cool questions. And right now, I got a really good one because it's the same time period that I not only got involved, but that's when I met you. That's when I met Brown Mark. That's when I met Gilbert, everybody. That's when it started. So why was Purple Rain so special to you?
I was saying, man, it was my first. Your first is
Nothing like
always
your first.
the most special, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, G, at the time, man, I was a young guy. I think I was 21 years old on Purple Rain. So I was a buck. But I didn't have any idea of the magnitude until later on in my career. You know, it was the most magical time, man. I won't say that it was necessarily my favorite show for P, but it to me was the most special time. And like I said, it was because I had just came into this. I mean, Purple Rain was like this out of control monster that was on the road. And I remember some of the old guys. You know, I'm going to go ahead and mess with Alan here. But Alan used to get so pissed at me and Gilbert because, number one, Chick spoiled the heck out of us. And so we didn't have to do a lot of the stuff that rookies, you know, on their first tour have to do. We were really spoiled. And Chick just kind of took care of us that way. But I remember Alan would say things like, man, because, you know, Alan was with, and I'm going to give him a plug for his book, G, you know, James Brown, The Chitlin Circuit. But, you know, it was tough. Touring in the 60s was something else.
I know.
And so Alan was like, here you little snotty brats get to come on and be a part of the biggest show to date right now, you know. But it was amazing, man. And then the thing, G, that I always wanted to do when I was a young man, I wanted to travel. Man. And so my dad worked for the telephone company, and he used to remember how much I liked traveling. So he would bring home phone books from different cities. I know this is corny, right? And so when I'd have all my phone books, man, I'd have Chicago, I'd have Kansas City.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to go there one day.
Right,
and so cool. When I had an opportunity to get on Purple Rain and we're going to all these cities that I had only thought about as a young man, it was something else. But it was out of control. It was a monster. I mean, I think, man, we had 30 semi-trucks. And for people that don't quite understand what that means, I mean, most tours at that time, they were running with 5 or 4 trucks. We had 30. I mean, in Princess Entourage, we had 150 people. It was a mega monster show.
It's crazy. And it all started in that little warehouse. Yeah. It's crazy. Well, what was the best moment? I know it's hard because we all got a million of them, but what's the best moment that comes to mind? The best moment that comes to mind you had with Prince?
Wow. My best moment, man, was the first time that I actually got to spend some time with him. And I'm going to go back to that detail that I did in Los Angeles right before the Purple Rain premiere. And we were outside getting ready to go to, what was the name of that? It was a nightclub in Beverly Hills called Bar One. And I had no idea what I was doing. If it wasn't for this guy named Murray Levy, who was Prince's driver, his security driver, he's an awesome guy, man. He really saved me, man. He helped this young rookie because I was just out there not having a clue of what I was doing. It was messed up. But that's a whole nother story, man. But, right before we were getting ready to get in the car, and at this time, I'm young, I'm new. I don't understand where my boundaries are. I'm just like, okay, I'm with Prince. I guess I can talk to him. I guess we're cool right now. And, and there were certainly times that where, man, he just, it was really cool to have conversation with him, and then there was times that where, he was that other guy, that other dude. But I remember asking him, I was like, what do you think about all this? What do you think about all this incredible stardom that you have right now. And he looked at me, he said, I always knew that I would do this. I always knew that I was destined for some greatness like this. And it was so special. And I remember to this day because it was really one of the rare times that I felt like, I mean, I had a one-on-one with him, and not many people were able to do that. And it was really personal, and it was cool, man. And that, I mean, there's stuff that I have that I would never share because I just don't think that, you know, that's something that needs to be put out there. But I think stories like that are cool because it lets people understand and know that what kind of guy he was. And he did have feelings. And, you know, because you hear all this craziness about him, you know, he was a tyrant. And don't get me wrong, there would be times where he could be challenging, that's for sure. But
challenging,
there was some
that's
cool
a good word.
right? But there were some times where he was really cool. And so that's one of my most fondest memories, you know. And I think it was just because it was really intimate with me and him. And he was just cool, man, like that.
Right.
That time.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So what's the worst moment?
Yeah, I would. Well, there's two. I mean, obviously, when he died,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that was really challenging, and so I guess there's really two. I mean, when he died, that was tough, and it took me a while to kind of work through that. But when he was alive, do you know how big the state fair is in Minnesota? I mean, everybody looks forward to going to the state fair.
In the country.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a crazy time of year, and all Minnesotans are really excited about it. And I forgot where we were coming from. Maybe we're coming from Japan, and we're on the plane back. But everybody was all geeked up about going to the state fair. We were excited. Everybody's like, "Man, can't wait to go." And so Gilbert and me were behind Prince, and I think it was Sheila that was sitting with him. And he turns around and he looks at me and he says, I wish I could go. And man, it made me feel so bad, man. I'm like, dang, you know, because he was a prisoner of his own stardom. And so the next thing that comes out of my mouth is like, well, we can make it happen. And gee, as soon as it came out, I'm like trying to get it back in my mouth, right?
It was too late.
Because, it was too late.
Because now he wants you to do it.
And the problem is that he was so famous at this point in time that anything that we did was a huge production. It was, it was going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
And, you know, but just to see how sad he was that he couldn't do normal stuff like that, that really made me feel bad, man. It made me feel hurt.
Yeah, there's a couple of situations like that where, you know, movie night was one where that was easy because he could just rent out a whole movie theater. Right? Yeah. But even just getting there, going in, because if it was shut down, some of the people knew, well, we know what it is. Prince must be coming in, right? So it's that whole hanging around, waiting to see all of that. But I mean, anything he did, I mean, it was so big. Anything. I remember one time I asked him, I said, man, I'm gonna take you fishing one day. He said, yeah, I can see that. Put it right. Like, I guess you're right. I guess we ain't going fishing. But he didn't like fishing. He didn't like that kind of stuff. So but he even entertained it because it just added on to one of those things that he just could not do. Right. Yeah. And live in a state like Minnesota and you can't go fishing. Can't go walk around the lake. Right. And he was a regular dude long enough. You know, he didn't become a star until he was like 16, 17 years old. So he was a regular dude long enough to know what it was like to walk around Lake Calhoun. He was, and even when he had his first records and he bought his first car, he still was small enough where he could go and park at Lake Calhoun and bump some jams and see what people thought about it. Because that's what we all did. Whenever we had a song or some music that we just finished writing, we go down to Lake Calhoun and bump it and see how people react to it. He was old enough to do that before he got to be a star. Michael never even got a chance to do that kind of stuff. Yeah, right. So it's even worse for him because Michael he can't miss what he can't measure. But Prince knew what it was like to be a regular dude. He knew what it was like. It was like the difference between being Pinocchio and being a real boy. He knew what it was like to be a real boy before he became Pinocchio. Right? So it was crazy, man. So yeah, I mean, that would be a worst moment. Yeah, everybody has the same worst moment in common. But yeah, that is because I can almost feel what you were feeling, you know, just knowing, dang, there's so many
Yeah.
regular things that we take for granted, right?
The price of fame, man,
Yeah,
you
it's a
know,
big
and,
price.
and
It's
it
a
wasn't
heavy
just
price.
P, man, you know, spent some time in Michael's camp, and, you know, I
Yep,
mean, didn't work for Michael, but, you know, Prince had interactions with a lot of people, and, you
right.
know, the security detail, you know, like if he was in the studio with Madonna or whatever, you know, we would all be in the studio and we would just start talking and just sharing our stories, and all of
Yeah,
them had that same thing. And you get so big that you can't really do anything and enjoy yourself, because a
right.
lot of times, man, you know, they just want to be left alone, you know,
Yeah,
and that's a
yeah,
challenge.
yeah. In the restaurants and everywhere, things that we take for
Yeah.
granted.
Right.
So, last question,
Okay,
because I don't
I'm
want it to
ready
get too,
for it.
I don't want it to get too heavy. Okay, so if you could say something to Prince today, what would it be?
Oh, yeah, I would say I understand. And G, you've been around him and a lot of people. There was so many things that he would do. I was like, man, what is he tripping on? What is he doing?
Yeah,
And I was able to read his book. I can't remember the guy that he wrote it with, but it made me sad. And that's another thing that made me really sad. One of my worst moments, because to hear how he to hear his words and to understand how he's seen things, it was so different. Because, man, we would be like, man, what's wrong with people? What's he thinking? And just to hear things from his perspective, man, you know. Now, don't mean that I would agree with everything that I heard or seen in the book, but at least I understand now.
yeah,
You know, it gave me a better understanding.
yeah.
You
Plus,
know,
again,
and
you know, he was a star for a long time,
yeah,
and Hollywood does not let you get out clean. Hollywood
yeah,
does not let you get out clean. If you've been there for any length of time and got to certain levels, people like Prince, Madonna, Michael Jackson, Sting, uh, uh, Bruce Springsteen. When you get that big, you've seen some things that the normal human ain't supposed to see, man. It's just
yeah.
you've experienced stuff that you're not supposed to. You don't come back from easily, right? And the fact
Yeah.
that he lived this long without totally cracking up, right? Because he was
Mm-hmm.
Prince, dude. He was Prince. He was the dude. He's the only iconic figure on earth who had a color. He's the only iconic figure on earth where national monuments all over the world threw purple light on it, like the Eiffel Tower and all this. Put Niagara Falls was purple after he died for about a
It wasn't
week.
that something, man.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, that was something.
That's crazy. So yeah, I mean, but Huck, I mean, that now that we ended on kind of a somber note, so we gotta lighten it up one more time. You gotta tell at least one more Prince security detail story that's funny. I got one in my mind that you told me a long time ago, but we'll save that for another time. But give me one so we can end on a light note.
This is the one I share all the time, man, and it's a funny story. But it really tells people who Prince was at his core. I can't ever remember, and I worked with him for almost 9 years, and I can't ever remember him saying that he was sorry. Definitely not to me or anybody else on the security detail, but anybody that was in his around him, that was in his entourage. I don't remember that ever coming out of his mouth. But I don't know if you remember, but I used to wear these bandanas all the time, right?
Yep.
And so I would flip mine around, and I kind of had the bandana tied in the front. I didn't wear it
Mm-hmm.
around the back and stuff. And
Right.
so when we weren't working, if we were working out, if we were at rehearsal or something, I had my bandana on. And so this is right at the end when I was getting ready to leave. They were out at Paisley, and they were doing the video for Get Off. And so I came in there. I don't know if Gilbert was with me or somebody else, but I had my bandana on, right? And Prince is like, stop the video and everything. He's like, oh, wait, hold up for a minute. He said, Hucky, do you know who you look like? And I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go. I was like, nah, man, who do I look like? He said, man, you look like Harriet Tubman. And everybody just busted out on the floor, laughing, cracking up. Prince was on the floor, holding his belly. He was laughing so hard. So, man, my feelings is hurt, right? My feelings is kind of hurt. So I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. So I walked out, man. I'm pissed, right?
Right.
So, the next day, I come out to the rehearsal, and dude got a bandana on. He got this yellow bandana on. So
Yellow polka dot tied to the front. Exactly.
So I'm like, wait a minute. I thought I looked like Harriet Tubman yesterday with this bandana.
Right.
He said, you did, but I make it look sexy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, this, but I mean, and so that was his way to apologize to me, because he knew that my feelings were hurt.
Right.
And he's like, okay, we're going to do this. And he would do stuff like that all the time. He would say something and then he would make up by just doing something really cool, Right. And that was his way. It's like, okay,
that's his way.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And yes. So let everybody know the yellow bandana, that's me.
That's a Hucky thing.
I mean, could you imagine me doing Get Off with the Bandana? How come I never got to sing, man? I always tell Mark this all the time, man. I was like, I was singing one time and we was in the elevator. I don't know what I was singing, one of his songs. And he said, Hucky? I said, yeah. What's up, dude? He said, what do you do for me? I said, I do security. He said, let's keep it that way. But I want to do a video, G. I want you to hook me up, man. We're going to do that on the show.
You got it, baby. Anything for you, Huck. Well, hey, check it out. Again, Huck, thanks, man. Thanks for this, man, because I'm telling you, if I dug it and I've known you this long, I know the people are going to dig it, man.
I hope so, man. We got some fun stuff to tell folks.
Absolutely. Well, hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 7801. I'm G Sharp. That's your boy, Hucky Austin. We appreciate it. Thank you very much for listening, tuning in. And please, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, and I don't see how you can not like what you see with two good-looking brothers like this him. But if you like what you hear and like what you see, go to Patreon and be one of our patrons. Help us out so we can make this get even bigger and better. Because we're looking to do a lot of things that don't just involve sitting around talking. We're gonna do some really cool stuff referencing the 7801. So go to the Patreon.
The first thing we're gonna do, if you guys help us out, we're gonna get G a green screen.
Yeah, because I'm looking all crazy around here in the back, man.
He looks
my
like
hand
a monster.
disappeared. Look, my hand disappeared. Look, my hand disappeared right there in the building. I went in the building right there.
Yeah, see, you got to get him something like he can do one of these moves.
I know, right?
Walk like an Egyptian.
All I got to do is take one of my old 1970s green suits and hang it up in the back, man. I mean,
did you get that from Joe Tex, man?
All right, now, Latimo, calm down. Okay, hey folks, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna get offline so we can rib each other a little bit in private. But anyway, I'm G Sharp. That's Hucky Austin. And this is the 7801. We'll talk to you guys next time. And as always, in parting, peace.